This is Weekends with Alex Witt, February 27th, 2021.
American rescue package passed in the House, now sending it over to the Senate. Well, joining me now, California Congressman Ted Lieu, a Democratic member of the House Judiciary and Foreign Affairs Committees. Welcome, Congressman. Always good to talk with you. I'm curious, sir, when you hear the president say there's no time to waste, put that into perspective for us. How detrimental it is to not get this done as soon as possible. How much do your constituents need the relief?
Thank you, Alex, for your question. One reason the House of Representatives waited till basically 2 a.m. in the morning is the urgency to finish this bill and send it to the Senate. We didn't want to wait even one more night to be able to send this to the Senate. And it's a great bill. It has direct stimulus checks to the American people. It has funding for small business loans. It has funding to help schools reopen. It gives money for vaccinations, for vaccine distribution and rollout, for contact tracing, renters assistance. This is a bill that we need right now, and we expect to get it to the president's desk before March 14th.
And the House, as you know, kept the $15 an hour minimum wage provision that was in the bill that passed overnight. However, the Senate, as you know, is expected to strip that provision out since the Senate parliamentarian ruled that it can't be included. So why include it in the House bill if it's then just going to have to come right back to face another vote without it? Does this prolong the process of getting relief to Americans?
It does not, because the Senate was going to make some other changes as well. And I'm disappointed that due to the arcane Senate rules, the $15 minimum wage proposal won't be in the Senate version. At the same time, I do support Senator Bernie Sanders and Ron Wyden's proposal to put in a provision that would penalize large corporations who do not increase their wages to at least $15 an hour. So there might be another way to get at this problem.
I know you guys will keep tackling that one. Let's turn to Syria now, of course, where the U.S. launched airstrikes against Iranian-backed groups in its first known military operation of Joe Biden's presidency. Let's take a listen to what your Democratic colleague, Alyssa Slotkin, had to say about the message that it sends to Iran.
They hit and killed an American contractor, wounded American soldiers on one of our bases, and we're going to take a proportionate response, that we're going to respond. And we hit back at them, and I think it's just sort of resetting expectations that if you hit at us, we're going to punch back.
Do you agree with that? And if you do, does that message complicate any efforts to try to re-engage in the nuclear deal?
I have previously criticized both the Obama administration and the Trump administration for using force in the Syrian conflict, because I believe Congress did not authorize the United States to engage in the Syrian conflict. This situation is somewhat different. Iranian-backed militia groups launched a rocket attack at a U.S. facility that killed a contractor, wounded a U.S. service member. The Biden administration claims that this attack on Iranian-backed militia groups who happen to be in Syria was an act of self-defense. I look forward to having a classified briefing to have the Biden administration show us why it was in self-defense. At the same time, I do appreciate the message, which is, look, Iran, you can't just act with impunity in the region.
Yeah, I'm going to have my director put up the full screen. And to your point, sir, this is what Democratic Senator Tim Kaine had to say about the airstrike and wanting to get congressional approval for this kind of thing going forward. This was something that also Senator Chris Murphy and Congressman Ro Khan have expressed similar sentiments. So it appears that you certainly agree with that. Are there many who are pushing back on that, or does that have a bipartisan support?
It has bipartisan support, regardless of whether it's a Democratic or Republican administration. I believe Congress has ceded way too much of our war-making powers in the Constitution to the administration. We need to reclaim our war powers authority. I look forward to working with both Democrats and Republicans on that very issue.
There's another thing that you've really helped spearhead, and that is an effort with nearly 36 of your House colleagues urging President Biden to relinquish his sole authority to order the launch of nuclear weapons. Tell me your reasoning for this. I mean, there's some conservatives that are suggesting you're questioning President Biden's ability to even execute on this. Is that what it's about, or is it about trying to prevent someone like Donald Trump from making threats like he did against North Korea?
The issue is a systematic flaw, and it's unconstitutional. So right now, if you look at the Constitution, it says only Congress has the power to declare war. And in my view, there's no way that the framers of the Constitution would have given one person the sole authority to launch nuclear weapons that can kill hundreds of millions of people in less than an hour and not have called that war. So we're saying, look, you need to put in more controls, you need to have more people involved, and we can't just rely on one person to determine the fate of the free world. And this applies regardless of whether it's a Democratic or Republican president.
So here's the question, though. Getting anything done in Congress right now is challenging. So if you're going to deal with something like this that may be on an emergency basis to some degree, when you're trying to do this by committee, are you confident that it would be effective?
That's a great question. So I've introduced legislation with Senator Ed Markey to basically say a president cannot launch a nuclear first strike without the approval of Congress. So there's two situations. There's one where the president has to act quickly because missiles are coming in from other countries. It's an act of self-defense. Then there's a second situation, which our bill applies to, which is a premeditated nuclear first strike where there is, in fact, time before launch. And that's what we're trying to restrict, a president from simply going off and launching nuclear weapons when there was not any real good justification for doing so.
Okay, good. I'm glad you made that distinction. Now it's clear. Let's take a look at this week's hearings on the Capitol riots. The acting Capitol Police Chief warned of new threats. Let's take a listen to that.
We know that members of the militia groups that were present on January 6th have stated their desires that they want to blow up the Capitol and kill as many members as possible with a direct nexus to the State of the Union, which we know that date has not been identified.
Can you put this threat into perspective and how confident you are or aren't that we can effectively defend against it?
You know, ironically, one of their favorite TV shows of my wife and I was Designated Survivor, and this was exactly the scenario. And now we see fiction coming into reality, and it's unfortunate that we have all this political violence. And there's one way for Republican leaders to reduce the risk of further political violence. All they have to say is one simple, truthful sentence: the election was not stolen.
Yeah.
The refusal to say that is the reason we still have National Guard troops in body armor patrolling our Capitol today.
Before I let you go, my friend, I want to get your thoughts on the disturbing trend of attacks on Asian Americans. You look at the data, it shows anti-Asian crimes have surged 1,900% since the start of the pandemic, more than 2,800 attacks across 47 states. What's your reaction to these horrible numbers and images?
I unequivocally condemn this hate-filled violence against Asian American community. It was not helpful that last year you had a former president of the United States use racist phrases like Kung Flu that further inflame prejudice and passions. I'm very pleased that Joe Biden has signed an executive order on hate crimes, specifically regarding the Asian American community. He's going to devote more resources to attacking this problem. And anyone who's experienced a hate crime or hate incident should report it to the local authorities. And we're going to make a big push to make sure that those responsible get prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law.
100% you do that. California Congressman Ted Lieu, it's good to see you. Thank you so much, sir. CPAC awaits its golden boy. Yeah. Up next, what to expect from Donald Trump's speech and what it means for President Biden's efforts to unify the country. Is that a little bit creepy, though? Yeah, it is.